Good afternoon, everyone. Myself, S.J. Shiva, Assistant Professor, Head Department of Criminology and Police Administration, who I am going to take this class for research methodology. The objectives of the study. The final part of clarifying the research project involves thinking in more detail about your research objectives, well define the focus of your study, clearly identify variables to be measured, indicate the various steps to be involved, establish the limits of the study, and also most probably we will focus the objectives. It's related to your title also. The objectives can be general or specific. The general objectives of your study states to expect to achieve in general terms. The logically connected parts that systematically address the various aspects of your program. The specific objectives should specify exactly what you will do each phase of your study and how, when, where, and the power, and what purpose are you are using the objectives to find out the problem, to focus the problem, and then to analyze the problem. Finally, we will give the result and discuss some major findings also. Before that, we have to move. How is the research objectives written? Your research objectives must be achievable. It must be framed, keeping it's related to the research frame, available time, infrastructure, record for research, and other resources. Before forming the research objectives, the researchers should read about all the development, your area, find the gaps, knowledge, all the things should be, we have to check, and then it is a suitable objectives for your research. Finally, writing the research objectives requires the constant practice, knowledge about the topic investigated, clearly written objectives save time, money, and effort. For example, before that, you have to finalize the objectives, and then it is related to your topic also. It is a major timeline, it's related to the framework of research. Once the researchers have a clear idea, get their research topics, then they have to develop their conceptual framework, which is a crucial element of research paper. As it guides the follow-up research, the conceptual framework is related to the developed methodological and statistical test also. Example, the gender-specific approaching for the counseling project, it will be focused on the counseling and text and testing also. The general objectives, it's affect acceptability services, community attitudes towards, for example, we got to focus on HIV affected people, the AIDS, the specific objectives to assess the knowledge, attitude, and practice of the community towards the VCT services, and then assess the awareness, the perception of the study, and then community recording services also. They have to focus on this HIV affected the scope of the study. We have to mention the clear parameters. The scope treatment will give basic information about the depth and breadth the project, what they want to find, and how they will conduct the study, the report, and how the people, the deliverable, their outcome of the study, and responsibility of the researchers also, it should be mentioned. The scope will be the part of the knowledge and biases is the research project. The scope of the study refers to the project will be performed. This is the sometimes the scope of the study to be defined all aspects that will be considered in your research project, that clearly what aspects will not be covered. What is outside scope of the study? Most probably it's normally it's research, it should be related to the previous studies. We got to refer the previous studies, any journal, any case studies, any other things. It should be the scope of the research, it's related to focus to your research goals also. That clarifies the expectation for your research project, helps you determine potential biases, and then identifies the limitation of your research. Why the scope of the study is important? the clearly stages of the project. Before any data collection or experimental work, we have to follow the types of research. Most probably, we have to follow by the exploratory research, the sociological research. The proposed study down what is practically achievable within a given time frame. A well-defined research, the study hope enables the researchers to give clarify to the study and their outcomes. Without this, it is difficult to define an end point for research project since no limits have been defined on the other could take the similarity to answering the research question to open-ended. Our tool will be set it is our objective type question will be out of hand. Most probably some questions it's open-ended questions. They will get the data from the field. How to write the scope of the study? We have to follow the 5 parameters. It is a 5 indicators it is mentioned. The research parameters usually consist the sample size, duration, and then inclusion exclusion of the criteria. Some geographical mandatory concerns, some questions it should be avoided. For example, some sexual abuses cases, we got to avoid it. Some critical questions and some illogically questions we should be must avoid it. Each of these parameters we have limits placed on them so that the study can practically to be performed and the results interpreted relative to the limitation that have been defined. These parameters will also help to shape and the direction research questions to consider. We have to follow this type of parameters. But parameters will give for the proper shape for our research. The term limitation often used together with the scope of the study. Make sure you get the balance right between the making the scope broad, unachievable, and then restricting research also. The review of literature, we got to follow the research process and the literature review survey, the scholarly articles also we got to mention. This landscape informs itself about the previous significance works field to their research work. The general literature should be involved the research process. It should be review of literature, universe, sample size, data tool, data collection, data analysis, data interpretation. Finally, we have to put the major findings and then we will get the research and then we will give the result and discussion also. This should keep in their mind the objectives, inform the audience, development in the field, the credibility and then significance and then methodological approach also. Thank you.